I start every book with an embroidery piece which the rest of the book is designed around, and here I'm finishing up the white frame for one of my window pieces. What I'm using here to fill is a very condensed stem stitch. I really like using this stitch for large color blocks because the stitches fill space nicely, but subtle enough that it doesn't distract from the main design. After I finish with a white window frame, I switch from cotton thread to silk. I really enjoy the look of silk mixed with cotton. It gives my designs a nice contrast between the gold colors. I'm using the silk to sew a series of lazy daisy stitches in order to build up a wheat stalk. Once the text block is sewn and assembled, I place it into the press for the first glue application to the spine. After the glue dries, I will hammer the spine of my book using a method that is called rounding. I of course forgot to film it, but rounding is essential before the next step, backing. Once the book is rounded, I place the text block in the press between two backing boards and strike the hammer down away from the center of the spine. Backing is a step used to eliminate any swelling left in the spine from sewing on the cords. It also forms paper in a way that creates a supportive structure. A backed book is way less likely to collapse later in time. When the book is backed, I apply another layer of PVA and strips of mold between the hem cords. Those long strips will later be pasted to the inside of the cover boards for extra support. after the covers are attached, a process which I absolutely forgot to film, I prepare my book for sewing head and tail bands. When I set up to start sewing, I like my book clamped in the spine facing towards me. I also really like using a pin in the first signature to keep the core from moving around while I sew. Here, I'm sewing using the English style headbands with silk and cotton thread. I've also placed some markers in a text block to signal where I will sew the thread down into the book. I usually don't sew into every single signature. All you typically need for headbands is a few anchor points to keep your work from moving. I picked a red goat skin for this project, and here I am measuring out my cut with a grid ruler and my handy bone folder. I have a very inexact process, but I try and leave more leather than I think I need just in case I make a mistake. Having too much leather is much better than not having enough. This process is called paring. To pare leather, you need an extremely sharp knife. My knife here is called an English paring knife, and I usually make around 3 passes over the leather. And I like to pare down to the grain. This process usually needs marble, glass, or hard stone behind the leather to prevent any damage. Now the leather is ready, I started preparing the spine for the wheat paste. This is my second time using wheat paste, and I had no idea how hard it would be to use with my method of binding. Whenever I bind a book, I need to start with the spine in order to form the leather around each cut window, one cover at a time. The wheat paste needed more time to dry properly than I could afford to give, and so started my many troubles. Unfortunately, much of the covering process was not filmed because I was having a midlife crisis and considered throwing my book away and starting completely over. Everything turned out in the end, but I think I've learned my lesson here. After my hopeful application of paste to the spine, I strung my book up to dry. I could already tell the leather wasn't drying quick enough and certainly not sticking. With the spine semi-dry, I couldn't afford to wait any longer and I had to start on the cover. I prepared the cover by tracing out the windows below, and I cut small slips of leather to wrap behind the cutout. This is where I truly started having problems and my hair went gray and I completely forgot to film beyond this point. And voila, book is magically covered. When my tears have dried, I start designing the cover. I really imagined using Gothic architecture with my embroidered pieces. The concept of humble beginnings surrounded by grand designs really fascinated me. I find designing the covers much easier after the book is covered and nearly done. This is a very much backwards way of designing, but each artist is different. After I decided my design, I try and lightly score out some base outlines with my bone folder and a graph ruler. Before I ever start using my heated tools, I treat my cover with a rose water and glycerin mixture. This hydrates the leather gently, and when a heated tool is applied, the mark is dark and more noticeable when the leather is completely dry. Once the cover is treated, I can start tooling. But before any of my tools touch the leather, I cool the tip down in a sponge soaked in water and hold the tool there until it reaches a low sizzle temperature. This way I can avoid scorching and ruining the leather. Before I can use gold on the cover, I'll need to apply egg glare, which is a natural heat activated glue. After waiting for the egg glare to dry, I start to apply the gold leaf in small parts. Gold leaf is very delicate and has to be handled with extreme care. I transfer small pieces with a cotton ball and press the gold to the cover until the tooling is visible behind the foil in an outline. clean up, I gently rub away the leftover gold with a cotton ball, then go back with a kneadable eraser and lightly roll over the cover to pick up any smaller pieces of gold that I missed. Thank you to my small court of patrons who supported the making of this video. Thanks, guys.